slide. So I'm gonna go over the introduction and kind of like go through what we're gonna talk about today, our agenda. So, so first of all, the class is gonna be taught by myself. I'm Ms. Shannon. My full name is Shannon Freshwater, and also by Ms. Ching, Ching Ching Cheng, who is also here with us, and she'll be reading every other slide. So we're gonna like take turns with you guys. So we'll do an introduction. So I'll tell you about myself, and Ching can pipe in and tell you guys about herself. There's going to be a lot of questions in these slides, and these questions not necessarily will be answered today by us, but they're questions that you need to be thinking about. So, what kind of art experience do I want in college? Some of these schools are very different in depending on what kind of experience you want. What are the options for majors? So we'll go through kind of some options you might have other than just the broad, I want to do art. There's, other things that you can do within that big umbrella. Why should I prepare a portfolio, and kind of what's the deal with a portfolio? So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll talk about your timeline and give you kind of a rundown of when you really need to start thinking about this, when you need to get stuff in. It changes a little from school to school, but you really want to start thinking ahead in advance, which is part of why we do this class. So introduction, I'm Miss Shannon. I've been teaching at Creative World for, I can't even remember how many years, 7 years maybe. I also am illustration faculty at Art Center College of Design. I've been teaching there for about almost 6 years, 5 years. And I also teach illustration at Cal State Northridge, and I've been there for about 7 years. And not only am I faculty, but I graduated from Art Center in 2008 under illustration. And my professional work, I do editorial illustration, which basically means illustration for magazines and newspapers. I also do book covers. The New York Times has been kind of a main client of mine. And I also do a lot of gallery work. So I can kind of speak to, like, if you guys have questions about the real world or school or that kind of stuff. Ching, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah.
So can everyone hear me and see me? Okay. So I'm Miss Ching, and my full name is Ching Ching Cheng. And I also went to roughly around the same time with Ms. Shannon to our center for undergrads around 2006 to 2009. And I recently graduated from a master program, Master of Fine Art, also from Art Center. And I'm an artist or art educator, and also the past 2 years been making film. And I'm, besides doing galleries and painting and sculptures and making videos, that I also do web designs for different artists, and also other design jobs on the side. And so that's me, and let me know if you have any questions later. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, we both have, between the two of us, we have quite a good, quite a lot of experience. So if you guys have any questions about art, or the business of art, or being an artist in the real world, you can ask us. Okay, so let's look at the next slide, and we're going to talk a little bit about what kind of experience you want in college. So it's really important to think about when you're applying to schools is, do I want a school where there are green lawns and we can play Frisbee and there's really a lifestyle around the school and there are dorms and, or do I really want to get to business and I want to make work? Some of these schools have art studios where you can work, some don't. So it's really kind of important to think about your expectations and the kind of school that you want to go to. Before I went to Art Center, before I visited the school, I was thinking that I was going to be able to live next to the school and walk to campus. And I went and visited and I was like, oh no, I guess you can't do that here. So it's really important to think about those things. Um, also thinking about some of these schools have dorms. Are you going to be living at home? Are you going to be commuting? All these things you want to think about when you're picking schools. So what we have here in this slide, this is just kind of a loose list, a sampling of colleges. So this isn't every single school that does art, right? But it's kind of the major ones. They're big ones. So we have schools in California. These are all Southern California. So if you want to stay local, we have Cal State Long Beach, Cal State Northridge, Cal State LA. So Cal State is a big state school and they have schools all over California. And certain areas, certain of these schools have better art programs than others. So Long Beach, Northridge, and LA are some of the better ones. We have Cal Arts, we have UCLA. Some of these schools are art schools. So like Cal Arts is an art school. UCLA is a big school with a school of art inside of it. We have Art Center, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with in Pasadena. We have Otis and USC. And then, you might want to think about out-of-state schools. Of course, this is not the list of out-of-state. This is just a couple of big ones. RISD and the Chicago Art Institute. RISD is in, oh my God, Rhode Island. Of course, there's way more, but these are some to get you kind of thinking. So things to consider. Like I said, the location and the experience. Where do you want to go to school? What kind of experience do you want? You also want to think about the major and any kind of opportunities that the school would offer. Some schools are better at offering internships with companies and others aren't. You want to think about the major. So some of these schools are really good for animation. Some are really good for fine art. Some kind of teach a little bit of everything. Some are very, very, very specific. So you really want to do a little research, go on the websites, talk to the schools, visit the schools if you can. I'm sure that right now, due to COVID, there's probably videos online instead of physically visiting. So you really want to kind of, do a little research. And with our class, we'll talk a little bit about this too. Any questions about the schools and the schools that you'd want to go to? Yeah, also, you don't have to necessarily be an art major to make a portfolio too. Say you want to go to UCLA, not for art, but you want to go for sociology, or you want to go for, architecture or something. Making a portfolio is really good just to get into the school. It really shows that you have, what am I trying to say? It really shows that you have a personality and you have extracurricular interests other than, English or writing or sociology, like I said, or whatever. So it really helps kind of round out your portfolio, even if you're not wanting to go for art, right? So just to get into a school, sometimes having that extra portfolio is really good. Do you guys have any questions about any of these, any of the schools or locations or? And you guys, yeah, you guys can ask in chat too. And we can talk more about it at the end. Um, good. Ching, do you want to do the next slide?
Sure, thank you. So the next one, we wanted to start considering what are the options for majors. And it's kind of difficult to right away thinking about majors. And from, I think the most better way, like the good way, is to think like, what do I want to do for the future, and what job interests me, and what do I like um, in the future. So from there, I have, sort of like a list of just basic, the list go on, like, do I want to be in film industry? Do I want to be in the fashion industry? Advertising and productions and packagings and set designs, media, architectures. If I wanted to do gaming, then there will be entertainment game designs, and then that also have many categories to fall under. Do I want to be a cinematographer? Do I want to be a photographer? What kind of film do I want to make? And also, if I want to have I want to be an artist, but besides just being an artist, what do I want? What kind of path that I can go? Do I want to go into gallery? Do I want to go into a museum? Do I want to be a researcher? And do I want to be a director? And so there are many, or even art curators. So there are many career paths and many things that we can consider about what do I want, what do you want to do in the future? And from there, we can help you all to start narrowing down on what are the majors that fits my goal and can help me get to my goals, my career. And so the basic views are fine art and illustrations, animations. A lot of animation these days have digitals and or more traditional ones, and those are also different schools offer different kinds of animation. Of course, entertainment, there are many schools offer, do I want to be entertainment game designer for software design, or is it going to be in entertainment to do the background and doing the characters? And also the film industries and graphic designs. There are many type now. There are user interface designs, and also there are media designs, and not just two-dimensional graphic typography logo design. So there are many more integrated and layers behind within the graphic design field, and packagings, what else, and user interface, I think I mentioned. Also architecture, interior design, that's also part of graphic, different art degrees as well. And also film industry. Film industry is really big. Do I want to manage the cameras, and do I want to being the photographers, and do I want to be the cinematographers, and do I like, what do I want? Do I want to be a set designs? And also set designs has many different categories as well. There's art departments, and there's different departments within the set designs. So there are many things. And also now everyone is on the web all the time. So there are many user interface designs and website designs. So there are many things are together, and video editors. Let me see, what else? Attending art major university and a specialized art school. So, so attending a university. Oh, okay, so there are many schools are, sorry, let me read this chat a little bit fast. And so there are many universities has a lot of different major besides having a art just the art school majors. And to attend, for example, in the school that only has art major, it's great because the facilities are well prepared, and also they have many different art majors and classes that you can pick from and choose from. And you can see also collaborate with other major, which a lot of art these days are a design are very integrated. So it's a good experience for being in all exclusive art school to have really immersed in the art world. But also there are different way to think about it. If you wanted to get into a school that has offer, for example, psychologies and different kind of humanity studies and different fields with like a UCLA's and Cal State's, that is really great because you can also find your interests and then find your studies and also integrate it in within. Sometimes people are interested in taking 2 or 3 different dual majors to be more see what they are interested in having the art and bringing into other field. So I think both are a very different experience. And I went to the schools that only for art, but I also will advise everybody to do their research and then see what's the campus like and what other majors in the school that they offer that is your interest that you can take as elective. And so, and let me know if I miss anything or any questions.
Let me just rephrase that. Someone asked a question regarding whether we can talk about the pros and cons of attending an art major in a university or a specialized art school. Ms. Shannon, do you have anything to add to that based on your
I
own?
think, yeah, I think Ching, you brought up a good point about.
I mean, I feel like when Ching talked about all the majors that they're available in the career path that maybe I feel like I want to do them all.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids have the same mentality stepping into art school. So maybe that's why it's helpful to kind of narrow it down a little bit.
I think it just shows that there's a wide variety of jobs out there, that being an artist is a very viable job. Like, it's not, I think, what a lot of maybe parents or grandparents or some people think of, like, you're the starving artist. That for sure exists, but there's tons of jobs out there that revolve around the art industry, illustration, graphic design, all that. I think choosing one of those, that's the hard part. But like you said, Ching, it's all about, what do you love doing? You want to do something that you love doing. And sometimes you explore that while you're in school. And that's something that you're continually discovering while you're in school. So I think what you said about the facilities is really great. So a specialized art school, they're really putting the money into having really good facilities, having the CNC machines, having the laser cutters, and the printmaking studios, and that really putting the money towards that. Whereas sometimes, it depends on the school. Some state schools, they're broader, so sometimes maybe you have more of an opportunity to experiment and try different things. Some of the specific art schools really want you to hone it in and pin down what you want to do, and they have a specific track and specific classes they want you to take. So that's something to think about. I would look at the schools that you might be interested in and see what kind of classes they offer, see how many different departments they have. Some schools might just have a school of art. That's it. And like within that school of art, there's different things to take. Some schools are like the school of art, and then you focus in on illustration. Or, at Art Center, it's illustration, but then what kind of illustration? So they're really like honing you into a kind of a career path. Let me see.
Well, we can continue to kind of like
Yeah.
be more specific and maybe talk about that later on. We do want to kind of move
Yeah,
on to
yeah,
the next slide since we're at kind of half
yeah.
point. So Ms. Shannon, thank you so much for bringing up the question, Chuck. And we'll have 15 to 20 minutes in the end for Q&A as well. But moving forward, Ms. Shannon, would you like to continue?
Yeah. So you might ask a question, why should I prepare a portfolio? What do I need in my portfolio? What is a portfolio? What does a portfolio look like? So the first question, what's every school's requirement? So all of these schools vary. Some schools are very specific that I want this and this and this. Some schools just say, show me 10 images or 15 images. And you're like, what? That's it? So it kind of depends on the school. Really, what they're looking for is they want to see your skills. So they want to see that you know how to draw, that you're a good draftsman, that you might know how to draw and paint. They want to see some creativity and some risk taking, some experimenting. Really, I think the most important thing though is they really want to see your individuality and your personality and your voice. Who are you? What do you like making? What is your story that you want to tell with your work? Because I think Ching and I both know from experience of looking at portfolios that you start seeing a lot of the same stuff, and you're like, oh, I know this assignment that the teacher gave them of this assignment. But once you start seeing some really unique pieces, that kind of gets your attention. What's a series? So some of these portfolios, you might want to make a series, which is basically a group of pieces that belong together and they all tell the same story and they're very cohesive. What part does a portfolio play in admission process? So some of these schools, you not only have to submit a portfolio, but usually there's some kind of artist statement, some kind of essay. A lot of times these days there's videos, so some kind of video explanation of who you are as an artist, as a person. There's letters of recommendation that you have to get from people. And by the way, that's something, if you take our class, that Ching and I can totally do for you. So there's a lot of things involved. If you go to a bigger state school, usually there's an admission process through the big school, and then there's a separate admission process through that school of art. And that's where you send the portfolio. So there's more than just portfolio to deal with the admission process. And what does admissions look for? Yeah, they're really looking for, like I said, your skills. You've taken art classes before, you know how to draw. And they're really looking for your individuality and your personality. And that's something that we're gonna work with you guys on. This class that we're doing is not everyone's gonna get the same assignment, right? We're really going to personalize it, and it's really gonna be individualized. So we're gonna look at what you've done before, what you wanna do, and give you assignments that are geared towards your own work. So everyone's going to probably be working on different things for their portfolio. And yeah, the video, is kind of an aspect of that when I applied, that didn't exist. But these days, a lot of schools like to see a video that maybe it's a video of you in the process of making your work. Maybe you're explaining your process, you're talking to them. This gives them a chance to really see you and see your personality, which is really great. Let's see.
We have a question regarding, so some schools like Art Center, the portfolio content needs to be
Yep.
based on specific major, but if you apply for fine art, do you still have the opportunity to take classes other than just fine
Yeah,
art
that's a great
classes?
question. So at Art Center, they really want you to stick to that track. So if you get in there as a fine arts student, you apply as a fine arts student, they kind of have a plan for you. That being said, you can break the rules. And students do this all the time. And basically that's just talking to your counselors and saying, you know, I want to take this animation class instead of this art history class or whatever, and just substituting stuff. So you can totally do it. There's some loops to, you know, some hoops to jump through a little bit, but my students, I always recommend that they do that, because I think it's better to have a wider, have options, give yourself options, try out different things. School, I feel like, is really meant for you guys to experiment and try different things and learn what you like and what you don't like. And so while Art Center, yeah, they promote it as we're really honing you into this one track of thinking, whether you're going in to do, you know, entertainment design or fine art or whatever, you can still go and take a graphic art class. You can still go take an animation class. Yeah, hopefully that answered your question. Any other questions? Good. So Ching, do you want to talk about the timeline?
Yes, thank you. So what is my realistic timeline? A lot of applications are due around the time in the fall for the next year. And so to have a class with us, we can help with that to prepare a checklist pretty much for when is the application due dates, what are the schools I want to apply for, and what are all the dates. And the early admissions will be in the fall, and a lot of the late regular admission will be in January. So we wanted to start early as possible to prepare to be ready. And also filling out actual applications, it's a lot of work too. Sometimes, like when Shannon said, there will be a different one just for the school, and then there will be another one for the School of Arts department. And also there will be personal statements as well that we need to work on, and we can definitely help you writing the statement together. And also there are possibly optional standardized tests, depends on the schools that they require. And also another thing really needed to get ahead of time is that recommendation letters. And a lot of schools that require 3 letters, 2 from academic and 1 from anywhere of your choice. So we can definitely be helping you with the recommendation letters and writing you one. And also the most important thing is the portfolio part. So the portfolio parts, a lot of schools, like Ms. Shannon said, it could be from 15 to 20 series of work, and it needs time to really prepare that. So roughly 6 to 9 months of time to prepare the portfolio, and also with the video as well, that we can help start thinking of what the video is good, and then filming and editing and all that, and then also including the statement. So that's pretty much what the timelines and the checklist. So let me know if you have any questions.
And we have a question here. Is portfolio due at the same time as application?
Yes, from my understanding, yes, it's the same time.
Yeah, I think typically, yes. Yeah. And I would say too that with the portfolios, the more time you give yourself to work on these, naturally the better they're going to be. The less time you give yourself, it might end up feeling rushed, or maybe some of the work won't be as good as you want it to be. So I think working on these for an extended period of time really will help. And I like, so Charles asked, showing the process, I was wondering, good idea. So I think that's a great question about, is it good to show the process of your work? And that might be something that you show in the video. Also, depending on what you're applying for, what kind of, if you're going into the entertainment industry, wanting to do that, sometimes they do really like to see process. Some schools really want to see a sketchbook. It kind of depends on your goals of what you're applying to, and the school requirements. But I think showing process, showing sketches, I think it really helps them to see how you work, how you're thinking. Your process is all about how you're thinking. So I think it's good. And yeah, it legitimizes your work totally. It makes it seem like you're really putting thought and a process towards your work instead of just doing it, Good question. Any other questions?
Any other questions regarding application process or timeline during this time? If not, I want to just kind of change the flow a little bit. I kind of want to open up the Q&A session for the next 10 to 15 minutes before we wrap up with our program introduction. If that's okay with you, Ms. Shannon and Ms. Ching? Mm-hmm. Okay, so at this point, at this time, any of you who may have any specific questions for either Ms. Shannon or Ms. Ching, you may, is it okay we just unmute ourselves and speak, or we need to require to put in the chat box?
Right, you guys can speak up.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys, if you would like to ask any questions, you may just unmute yourself and ask the questions at this time. I actually have a question for myself, since even though we worked together for so long, but since we're bringing this up, how many times have you guys changed your mind or changed majors throughout your study in the arts?
Many. This
Yeah,
and I mean, it worked out for you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that going through school, you kind of you're experimenting and exploring and trying different things, and learn. I kind of feel like learning what you don't like is just as important as learning what you like, because then you can kind of eliminate that from your practice and you hone down stuff. But I mean, I went to Art Center when I was a little older, and I had gone to other state schools for art. I started as a film major, and then I moved over to a painting major, and then I took some time off, and then I was like, I really want to do illustration. And now professionally I do illustration, and I'm doing fine art and gallery stuff. So knowing that you can always change majors, and you can always kind of experiment with different types of art within most of these schools. They know that you guys are learning and exploring. What about you, Ching?
Yeah, I think I also went for illustration like Miss Shannon, but I took a motion graphic class to learn programs and After Effects and all that. And I took fine art class too. I did at one point thinking about changing to fine art towards the end, but it was like my last year of finishing. And like you mentioned earlier, there are sets of paths that they want you to take, and majority of the class I already finished or under illustration track, and so I kind of just finishing that up. But that being said, I feel like there are opportunities to grow even after graduating, to really find what you're looking for. And just there are many niche areas for arts. like I have JPL, like the Mars landing just happened recently. A friend of mine, her husband is an artist and working for JPL to do all the educational 1 minute illustration. So those are all these. And when I went to grad schools, I also, even though it's pretty open, like I can do anything I want with the grad program, but at the same time, I also I was doing an exhibition to collaborate with artists at USC, uh, the medicine department, the researcher. So, and I realized there are artists in USC in doctors or media artists, like media design programs, that they're collaborating with the researcher and scientists to do work. So it's like, wow, I guess I didn't know. And that's kind of like, thinking about the school that you're going to and what they offer and what the opportunities are to collaborate between majors. And that's really interesting, and yeah, give you a different thoughts of like, oh, I can do that, and that could be like opportunities, and that could be further, like, yeah. So there's many time thinking about, I want to do this, I want to do that. Yeah.
That's how I feel like. We do have a question here. Are portfolios more commonly submitted digitally or physically? And this can be for either one of you.
Yeah, good question. These days, digitally. Back when I was applying, I had a physical portfolio and I'd go in and sit across the table with someone, or you drop it off and then come pick it up later. But these days it's all digital. So we can also help you with that, what do your files look like? How do you, is it a PDF? Is it how so much about portfolio too is pacing. And, back in the day, you would go through the pages and you would really think about the pacing and what piece needs to go first and after that and the next piece. And you can also do that with your digital work too. Some schools require different formats, but we can totally help you with that too. Yeah. Good question.
Yeah, I felt like we can also help with editing with the pictures that you've taken, or how to advise on how to get a good lighting and how to set up all that to have, like, if you have an actual piece of work. And so
yeah, I think having good images is really important. Assuming that most of you guys don't have scanners, obviously scanning your work is kind of the best way, but if you're going to be taking photos of your work, they really need to be the best quality you could possibly get. So we can help you with that. And editing is huge. I think, like they say that you're only as good as your worst piece. So I think having a portfolio, starting out with a large body of work and honing it down and really editing into your best pieces is super important when you're making a portfolio. Even with us professionally, we have to do it, as artists in the real world. And so even though you might have a piece that you really love, it might not be your best piece, and you have to kind of be brutal and get rid of it for work that's better. So we can really help you editing and look at your work and say, okay, you have this and this, and that's really good, but what you're lacking is this other thing. And so let's get you working on this other thing so you can have a broader viewpoint. Any other questions? Yeah.
So this is kind of in relation to how, I guess, it's kind of like when you were mentioning, Ching, about the art series. So how competitive is it to apply for, art schools, for example, like Art Center, and how do you stand out in your portfolio?
I think having a strong point of view and a voice is important to show the what's your interest and what do you think, and how can you put your ideas and your thinking into a piece of a work of art. And I wanted to say a lot of time involved with a lot of writings. So go back on together working on artist statements and having a point of view. And a lot of time I remember our center also have different questions that you need to answer. I don't know if it's now, but also just going back and forth on working on an artist statement and then working on a series. And a lot of time starting with sketches and ideas, writing down and brainstorming that could branch out into many different small thoughts bubbles that I like to do, these like brainstorm bubbles. So that's really helpful. So I feel like to like, what is a series? Does it mean need to be the same style? Does it mean to have the same color, or does it mean to have the same characters? I think those are all like not the major, if you know, like I wanted to say to look for the same point of view. And then after that, we'll start developing what are the series could look like, and what are, it can be painting with sculpture. They can be a same series. So, or there will be sculpture pairing up with a video work, along with other paintings involved, or sketches, or a small piece and then a larger piece. So they don't have to be exactly the same medium and or the same colors or the characters or styles, but they need to have a same point of view. And I think the more you can show in different combinations of techniques along with your work, and also are a cohesive series of work, I think that will be very strong work, in my opinion. Yeah. Let me know if you, Miss Shannon, you have any thoughts.
No, I agree. I agree. I agree. Yeah, I think showing different techniques within that framework of having that point of view, you know, and that, and you know, you guys are still kind of discovering yourselves. So like admissions, they know that you're, you know, if you're coming straight out of high school, you're still exploring yourselves and you're still exploring your work. That's, you know, they know that. But at the same time, they're looking for someone that has a point of view, whether that's humor. Maybe I have a lot of humor in my work. My work is really silly and fun, and or maybe it's super serious, or you know, maybe I want to do work about my family and it's really personal, or but I think showing a variety of techniques is really great because it shows them you're willing to experiment and try different things, and they can also see how what your draftsmanship and your skills are within sculpture, within painting, within drawing. You know, I think that's really important, you know. But I think overall it's, yeah, it's the point of view, it's your personality and your voice is really kind of the big thing that's going to make them pay attention to you, because that's what makes you an individual. That's what makes you an important person. We're all different, right? We all have different ways of thinking and different points of view. And if you put that into your work, that's really going to show them who they're admitting into their school, you know. They really want to know what this person is about, because they don't know you, they don't know anything about you. And the more you can show them what you're about, the better, you know. Because believe me, they get tons of portfolios that look exactly the same. And you want to stand out, you know. But if we're talking about also like how competitive it is, some of these schools are more competitive than others, you know. And it's just different. It just depends on the school that you're wanting to get into. Usually the art schools tend to be more competitive than state schools, but a school like UCLA or USC, it's pretty competitive too, you know. So that's something to kind of look into. Yeah. Any other
Thank you, Ms.
questions?
Shannon. that was a really good comment about being able to have a voice in your portfolio and being able to have your individuality and your personality and showing that. And I love the idea of the bubble map that Ms. Ching talked about. It's a really good exercise to just kind of get all your ideas out there to map it out before you jump right into your work.
Whatever you can do to get ideas. I do a lot of writing too. So it's a kind of whatever, I do list making, but whatever you know, usually there's some kind of process before you start making your work. There's some thinking involved, you know. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions at this time? We have about 5 minutes before we end our session. Anybody? This is your chance to ask any questions to Ms. Shannon and Ms. Ching. No.
Anyone curious about if you take our class, what we're going to be doing?
No. Well, I know college
it's going to be very specific to you.
It's
going to be like
college is so intimidating.
It's huge. But you know what? If you do it, don't think of it as the big thing. Do it a piece at a time, and it'll do each little thing, and then it'll get there, you know. But the class that we're going to be doing is going to be very individual, and it's really going to depend on what you guys bring to it and what you have already in your work and what you need. And it's going to be a lot of kind of one-on-one and hopefully some critique and discussing what could make your piece better. I think it's good. Yeah, you guys really think about it.
We have a question regarding comparison of costs between universities or specialized schools.
It depends, you know. I would do some research, and just because it's a state school doesn't mean it's going to be cheap either. So I think it's good to look into it. The costs vary widely, and the financial aid varies widely too. Most places will have scholarships and grants that you have to apply to. There's your FAFSA form, which I think is really important for you guys to fill out. That's your financial aid through the government. And you know, I would do some research and see what the fees are for each school, because it varies, you know. And there's yeah, like I said, there's grants and scholarships, and then there's private ones you can apply to. Yeah,
I think a lot of time the early enrollment, are often possibly with the scholarship available if you enroll or apply early, right, compared to like the January application date. So like checking on that on each schools as well to see what if you enrolled apply early and what do they offer and stuff.
Yeah. So it's expensive to call, you know, it's expensive, but there's ways to lower those costs, you know. Some schools you can go part-time, other schools really want you to stick into doing the full-time experience. But I think it's just research, go on their websites and see what their prices are. But there's aid out there. Yeah. Right. And even PCC asks for portfolios. So PCC is a great school to go initially to kind of help explore what you want to do. Art Center, there's a lot of students that transfer from PCC, but even there they want to see a portfolio, you know. And I would say I feel like any school that you go into, they're going to want to see some kind of portfolio. And like Ching said, the earlier you can do it, the earlier you can prepare, the earlier you can apply, the better chance that you're going to get funding, the better chance that your portfolio is going to be better and that you'll get admitted.
All right. So we really we only have 2 minutes left. And before we end this event, we would just like to thank everybody for being here. We know that applying to college is a very exciting, but sometimes stressful experience, and we want to be as helpful as we can be. Both, thank you so much, Ms. Shannon and Ms. Ching, for sharing all of your experiences with us. I think that really for the younger students, for the teenagers that we have, it's really helpful to hear from professionals who have gone through the process. Both Ms. Shannon and Ms. Ching do co-run a portfolio prep program at Creative World, and it's a 3 to 6 months program. If any of you need help with drawing skills, or just kind of getting your series ready, or narrowing down your or getting help to be on track of your application process, sometimes you just need that. Feel free to contact us. We are writing Arcadia, and a lot of you guys are local. Most of our workshops will be run online during this time. And this is our first webinar, and thank you for everybody says thank you. Thank you for saying thank you. We would like to find out if you guys would like us to host another one regarding anything else that you might be interested in. Feel free to reach out or drop it in the chat box, and we would like to host another one in a couple of months.
Thank you, guys.
If you guys are getting hungry and would like to go get lunch during this time, we're pretty much wrapping up. You're welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good luck with everything.
You can do it.
Bye, Alyssa.
Bye, Alyssa.